All right, parallel lines. We know parallel lines are lines that never intersect. That part shouldn't be a problem. The transversal is the line that goes across the parallel lines. So which one up here is my parallel, my transversal in this middle one? That right there is my transversal. So whenever it says transversal, that's what it's talking about. All right, there's, I think, 4 types of angles that we're going to look at that you need to be able to identify as soon as you see them. First one is corresponding. Angles on the same side of the transversal, the same side of the parallel lines. Now, I've marked one pair. How many other pairs are up there that are on the same side of the transversal and the same side of the parallel? These are both on the right and the top.
There's 4. No, there's 4.
How many pairs? There's 4 pairs.
4 pairs.
Because I could go, I don't want to do that. I could go, well, I'm going to mark these because those are the same.
That's 2
both
pairs.
On the right, both on the bottom.
And then on the other side.
And then I could do the same thing and say, well, those are both on the left and both on the top. Those are both on the left and both on the bottom. And I did them that way for a reason. We'll talk about it in a minute. So there's actually 4 pairs of corresponding angles. So when you see these, any of those, automatic, those are corresponding. Same side of transversal, same side of parallel lines. The next is consecutive. And we really need to say consecutive interior and consecutive exterior. Well, what does interior obviously mean? Inside. Are these interior or exterior?
Interior.
Those are consecutive interior. How many other pairs of consecutive interior do I have?
There's only 4 pairs.
2.
How many other pairs of consecutive do I have? 1 other pair. It's right there. So I have the consecutive on the left, and then I have the consecutive on the right, as far as interior is concerned. But then I also have
2 pairs.
consecutive exterior. So you have 2 pairs of consecutive interior and 2 pairs of consecutive exterior. It should be obvious which one is interior and which one is exterior. Any questions about that? So corresponding, same side of transversal, same side of parallel lines. Consecutive, interior and exterior on the same side, and either inside or outside. All right, in this case, alternate means opposite sides of the transversal. So whenever you see alternate or see ones on the opposite sides of the transversal, you need to think alternate. We got alternate interior, alternate exterior. Same rules. What does interior mean? Inside. Exterior means outside. So if I have alternate interior, it's got to look like this top one. How many other pairs of alternate interior do I have? 1 other pair. It would be these right here. How many other pairs of alternate exterior do I have down there? All right. So we've got corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive interior, consecutive exterior. All right. What I want you to do is tell me what kind those are right there. Of the ones we talked about just a few minutes ago. Are they alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive, corresponding, whatever? I will say this. There are 2 on here that are not one of those that we talked about.
Can we write like AEX on the AEA?
Yes, as long as it's clear what it is. What are 1 and 8?
Alternate interior.
Alternate exterior. 2 and 7.
Alternate interior.
Alternate interior. 6 and 7. All right, now when we say consecutive, we need to say consecutive interior or exterior. I know I didn't have it on the definitions of them, but let's try to say it. 5 and 7.
Corresponding.
All right, corresponding. 3 and 6.
Alternate interior.
Alternate interior. 2 and 4. What?
Corresponding.
Corresponding. 5 and 8. consecutive exterior. Why is it not alternate exterior? What does alternate mean in this stuff? Opposite sides. These are on the same side. All right, 2 and 3. Consecutive interior. All right, here are the two that are not ones of the definitions we just came up with today. What are 2 and 6? They are supplementary, but they're called something besides supplementary. Anybody tell me? What do those two angles make? What is 180 degrees? A line. It's called a linear pair. If you have two angles that make a line, they're called a linear pair, which means they are supplementary. So anytime you see two angles that make a line, they have to be linear pair, which means they have to be supplementary and make 180. All right, what about the 3 and 8? We should know that one. Those are vertical. It's not one of the definitions for today, but we should know it. Vertical. What do we know about vertical? They're across from each other, and what's automatic about vertical angles? They're the same. They got to be the same number. Now, how many vertical angles do I have up there?
Yeah.
I got 4. The 2 and the 5 are vertical. The 1 and the 6 are vertical. 7 and 4, 3 and 8. So I got a bunch of vertical angles. And that's going to be important here in a second. All right. On this, angles that are equal to each other are corresponding alternate interior and alternate exterior. So if you know one of them, then you know the others that match that.
Vertical, would it be up there too?
And vertical. I should have put that up there too. Go ahead and put that one in there. Vertical needs to be in there. Angles that are supplementary would be the consecutive interior and exterior and the linear pair. What kind of angles are X and 120? But what kind of the new stuff? Corresponding, alternate interior, alternate exterior, consecutive. What are they? 120 and X. Corresponding. What is the rule that we just had for corresponding? Are they the same or do they add up to be 180? They're the same. So I know just based on that, X has to be 120 automatic.
And Y is what equals 180. So
All right.
60.
Y. If I go to Y, what kind are 120 and Y?
They make that 180. Make a line.
What are they called?
Linear.
Linear pair. What does a linear pair do? Makes a line, which means it is 180. So that means Y has to be 60 because 180 minus 120 is 60. What is 120 and Z? What kind are they?
They would
120 and Z. What kind? Nope. Consecutive exterior. They're on the same side, but opposite sides of the transversal. Or opposite sides of parallel lines. They're both on the left, but one's on the top, one's on the bottom. Those are consecutive exterior. What's the rule for consecutives? Add up to be 180. So if that's 120, that's got to be the rest of it. If I go to the second one here, 55 and A, what kind are they? Linear pair, which means those two have to add up to be 180. So how would I find A?
Subtract 55 from
180 minus 55 and get 125. What about B?
But then you go down there, it's
What kind is it?
yeah.
Corresponding. What's the rule for corresponding?
They are the same.
They are the same. So it's got to be that. Now, what is C compared to the 55? What is C compared to the 55? Alternate interior means both of them are on the inside. Is 55 on the inside? No.
That's the corresponding.
Corresponding, both of them are on the same side of the transversal. Consecutive means they're both on the same side of the transversal.
Vertical.
Vertical means they're side by side across from each other.
Well, yes,
So in other words, it is
linear.
it's none of those. So I can't solve for C based off of that 55. There's no angles that work for 55 and C.
You can do A and C, though.
But I can do A and C because what are those? Corresponding. What's the rule for corresponding?
They're the same.
So whatever A is, C has to match it. So there's mine. Let's go ahead and do the third one down here. What are 100 and A?
Consecutive.
Consecutive interior. What's the rule for consecutive?
No.
Add up to be 180. So that means if this one is 100,
That was 180.
A has got to be 80 to make it to 180.
And then
All right,
C-
what about C? Let's go ahead and do C.
C is going to be
Vertical.
100.
Vertical is
Same.
the same. All right, what about B? Now it's down here.
Corresponding.
Is it corresponding? Here's what messes people up. When this one is in here, see if I can make it move. Nope. If you didn't have that one in there, it's easy to see that it's corresponding. Sometimes this one messes people up with it being in there. You should hopefully see that both of these are on the left
And both of them are
and
the
both
same.
are on the bottom.
So they're
Well,
gonna
if
be-
they're both on the same side of the transversal and the same side of the parallel lines, they have to be corresponding, which means
It's 100.
it's got to match. All right, you do those other three down there. What's my answer? Well, what kind is X for the 70? Vertical. What's the rule for vertical?
Same.
Same. What is the Y compared to the 70? Alternate interior. What's the rule for alternate interior? Same. What is the Z? Corresponding. What's the rule? So all of those are 70. What do we notice about those angles?
They're all the same.
They're all the same. They're all vertical. But all of the acute angles right there
Are the same.
are all the same. Well, if they're all the same, what does that mean for the obtuse angles?
They're all the same.
They're all the same. What are they going to be?
Yeah.
You're only going to have two numbers for the angles on parallel lines. You're going to have the acute one and the obtuse one. Does everybody get that part? So when I see this sixth one over here, it's going to be the exact same process. What is X compared to the 102? What kind? So it's got to be the same. What is Y?
Corresponding.
Got to be the same. What is Z?
Vertical.
Nope.
No. Alternate exterior.
Alternate exterior, it's got to be the same. So all of the obtuse angles in this case are 102. Well, then what does that mean for the others? How do I find it?
The 178. Or no, the 78.
180 minus 102 leaves
78.
78. So once you find one of the angles, you basically got all of them.
What about
Now if I go to the middle one right here, it's got two transversals. This transversal has nothing to do with the first one.
They're separated.
So the X and the Y have nothing to do with the A and the Z.
Yeah, they're separated.
All right, so for X right here, what would it be?
115 because it's vertical.
It's vertical. What about Y?
Y is 150.
115 because it's corresponding.
Yeah.
What about Z?
It's 47.
Why?
It,
Nope,
no,
it's
it's
not
alternate
corresponding.
interior.
Alternate interior. A is 47 because it is
corresponding.
corresponding. All right, so tonight what you need to do,
Watch that video.
go back over and make sure you can identify what type they are just by looking at them. If you can do that, this stuff's going to be real easy.